The first cry of the Revolution 1896. The Philippine Revolution is one of the most important events in the country's history, awakening a proud sense of nationalism for generations of Filipinos to come. The revolution against Spain was sparked in 1896 after Spanish authorities discovered the Katipunan, a Filipino revolutionary society plotting against their colonizers. It ended in 1902 where Spain lost and ceded sovereignty of the Philippines to the United States. The first cry of the revolution remains unsolved due to the different dates and places that were mentioned by different eyewitnesses of the event. These include Pio Valenzuela's Cry of Pugad Lawin, Santiago Alvarez, Cry of Bahay Toro, Gregorio de Jesus, First Cry, Guillermo Masangkay's The Cry of Balintawak. Cry of Pugad Lawin, Pio Valenzuela, one of the surviving witnesses of the Cry of Pugad Lawin, and this is confirmed by the list drawn up by Guillermo Masangkay, only doctor participating in the cry. Pio Valenzuela y Alejandrino was a Filipino physician and revolutionary leader. At the age of 23, he joined the Society of Katipunan, a movement which sought in the independence of the Philippines from Spanish colonial rule and started the Philippine Revolution. The Cry of Bahay Toro, Santiago Alvarez. Another version of the cry which launched the Philippines Revolution is written by Santiago Alvarez. Sunday, August 23, 1896, as early as 10 o'clock in the morning at the burn of Cabesang, Melchora Aquino Z. At the place called Sampalucan, barrio of Bahay Toro, Katipuneros, met together about 500 of these arrived. Santiago Virata Alvarez was a revolutionary general and founder and honorary president of the first directorate of the Nacionalista Party. First cry, Gregoria de Jesus, one of the participants in the drama of the Philippine Revolution of 1896 was Gregoria de Jesus. Custodian of secret documents, seal and weapons, Bonifacio and his men gathered in the hills of Balintawak for the War of Liberation. According to her version of the first cry, it occurred near Caloocan on August 25, 1896. Gregoria de Jesus Eval Alvarez, also known by her nickname Oryang, was the founder and vice president of the women's chapter of the Katipunan of the Philippines. She was also the documents and seal of Katipunan. Cry of Balintawak, Guillermo Masangkay. The first cry of revolution happened in Balintawak at the house of Apolonio Samson on August 26, 1896. 9 o'clock in the morning, the board of directors held a meeting for the final date of uprising. Bonifacio went outside the hall and talked to the people waiting outside. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Spaniards were coming to them as their organizations was discovered and they are all marked men. Guillermo R. Masangkay was on the original member of the Katipunan. He was designated to build the KKK in the Cavite. His accounts contribute to our understanding of the Cry of Balintawak at the death of Bonifacio. He was also a general in the Philippine-American War. He strongly supported the erection of the Bonifacio monument and contributed 10,000 of his personal money for the effort. Balintawak. The first cry of revolution happened in Balintawak at the house of Apolonio Samson on August 26, 1896. 9 o'clock in the morning at the board of directors held a meeting for the final date of uprising. Bonifacio went outside the hall and talked to the people waiting outside. The Cry of Balintawak. Filipino, Sigaw ng Balintawak, Spanish, Grito de Balintawak, was the beginning of the Philippine Revolution against the Spanish Empire. The cry could also refer to the tearing up of community tax certifies, cedulas personales, in defiance of their allegiance to Spain. It is called Cry of Balintawak because returning to Manila, the Spanish soldiers boasted that the great fight has taken place at Pasong Tamo, and they had driven the rebels to the interior. This was the origin of the so-called Cry of Balintawak, which neither happened on August 26 nor in the Balintawak. What does the issue on the first cry of revolution depict about the Filipino? The cry primarily involved the tearing of cedulas, tax certificates, and it is supposed to be symbolic of tearing away from the yoke of Spain. Examining Katipunan documents, taxes is one of the paramount issues leading to the revolution. Emilio Aguinaldo, he led the Cry of Balintawak. In Cavite, however, the uprising was led by Emilio Aguinaldo, a man who could become the symbol of the successful revolution and the establishment of the Philippine Republic. 8 years younger than Rizal and son of the middle-class peasant, Aguinaldo was not able to finish his education. The Philippine Revolution of 1896, with what later became known as the First Cry, or the initial move of the Filipinos to begin the revolution for independence. Event happened after the Katipunan was exposed on August 19, 1896, and the Spaniards began to crack down on suspected rebels.